There's a quote you've been running from your entire life. You don't want to hear it. You definitely don't want to apply it. Because the moment you truly accept what it means, everything changes. You can't go back to who you were. You can't pretend you didn't know. The quote is this: you are not entitled to the fruit of your actions, only to the action itself. Let that sit for a second. You've been operating under a different agreement, haven't you? You've been told that if you work hard enough, if you're good enough, if you sacrifice enough, then the universe owes you success, love, recognition, peace, something. And when it doesn't come, when you pour everything into something and it crumbles anyway, you feel betrayed, cheated, like the game was rigged from the start. But what if the betrayal is the belief itself? What if you've been carrying a contract that was never real? Most of your suffering comes from this single illusion that your effort should guarantee your outcome. You study for the test, so you should pass. You treat people well, so they should treat you well back. You build something beautiful, so it should be recognized. You love someone deeply, so they should stay. And when the equation doesn't balance, when you give A and don't get B, you break. You get bitter. You decide the world is unfair, that trying doesn't matter, that nothing you do makes a difference. But the world was never offering you that deal. The truth, the one that terrifies you, is that you control almost nothing. You don't control whether your business succeeds. You don't control whether your business succeeds. You don't control whether people understand you. You don't control the diagnosis, the rejection letter, the person who leaves. You don't even control whether your best work gets seen or your kindness gets returned. All you control is what you do right now, this moment, this choice, this effort, and that has to be enough. This is where growth begins, not in the motivation, not in the vision board or the perfect plan. Growth begins when you accept that you might do everything right and still lose. You might be the best candidate and not get the job. You might be the most loyal friend and still be abandoned. You might create something genius and have it ignored, and you do it anyway, because the doing is the point. You've been waiting for permission to grow, waiting for conditions to be right, waiting for the guarantee that if you step out, if you risk, if you try, it will work. But there is no guarantee. There never was. The person who grows is the one who acts without the promise of reward, who loves without the assurance of being loved back, who builds knowing it might all collapse. This isn't pessimism. This is freedom. Right now, you're a prisoner of outcomes. Every action you take is secretly a negotiation. You'll do this if it leads to that. You'll try if you know it'll work. You'll be vulnerable if you're certain it's safe. You're not really living. You're hedging. And hedging keeps you small. The quote forces you to grow because it removes the escape hatch. It says you don't get to control what happens next. You only get to decide who you are right now. And that decision, that action, has to be worth something in itself. Not because of where it leads, not because of what it earns you, but because it's true. When you deeply accept this, your entire relationship with failure changes. Failure stops being evidence that you're not enough. It stops being the end of the story. Because you were never promised the fruit. You are only ever responsible for the action. You showed up, you tried, you gave it everything. The fact that it didn't work out doesn't erase that. It doesn't mean you were wrong to try. This is what separates the people who keep going from the people who quit. The ones who quit were attached to the outcome. When it didn't come, they decided the action was wasted, pointless. The ones who keep going understand something deeper. They understand that becoming the person who tries is the victory. The rest is noise. You want to know why you're stuck? You're stuck because you're refusing to act until you have certainty. You won't start the project until you know it will succeed. You won't have the conversation until you know it will go well. You won't put yourself out there until you're sure you won't be rejected. And so you wait. And waiting feels safe, but it's the opposite of growth. Growth is acting in uncertainty. It's doing the thing when you don't know how it ends. It's choosing integrity when no one's watching and there's no reward. It's showing up when showing up is all you have. This doesn't mean you act recklessly. It doesn't mean you stop planning or stop caring about results. You still want to win. You still want your efforts to matter. But you stop making your worth dependent on winning. You stop letting the fear of losing keep you paralyzed. You separate your action from your outcome. And in that separation, you find power. Because when you're not attached to the fruit, you're free to take bigger risks. You're free to fail spectacularly. You're free to be misunderstood, to be rejected, to have doors slammed in your face, and it doesn't destroy you. It doesn't even slow you down because you didn't do it for the door to open. You did it because it was the right thing to do. The true thing, the thing that aligned with who you're becoming, and who you're becoming is everything. You've been focused on what you'll achieve, what you'll accumulate, what you'll be able to point to and say, see, I made it. But none of that lasts. The achievement fades. The applause stops. The recognition moves to someone else. What lasts is who you became in the process. What lasts is the version of you that can do hard things, that can endure rejection and keep creating, that can love fully even when love isn't returned, that can stand in the wreckage of your plans and start building again. That person, the one who acts without needing the guarantee, is who you're here to become. And the only way to become that person is to practice, to act, to do the thing that might not work, to give the effort that might not be rewarded, to be kind when there's no witness, to be honest when a lie would be easier, to try when trying makes you vulnerable. This is the quote that forces you to grow because it removes every excuse. You can't say, I'll do it when I know it'll work, because you'll never know. You can't say, I'll try when it's guaranteed, because nothing is guaranteed. You can't say, I'll be that person when the world treats me better, because the world doesn't owe you better. All you have is now, this decision, this action, and you either take it or you don't. The people who change their lives, who break through, who become who they're meant to be, they're not smarter than you. They're not luckier. They're not more talented. They just stopped waiting for permission. They stopped needing to know how it ends. They committed to the action and released the fruit. And that changes everything. Because when you're not controlling for outcome, you stop playing small. You stop protecting yourself from disappointment by never really trying. You go all in. You burn the ships. You say the thing you're afraid to say. You build the thing that might fail. You love the person who might leave. And you do it fully, completely, without reservation. Not because it's guaranteed to work, but because it's yours to do. The growth you're searching for isn't on the other side of success. It's on the other side of surrender. Surrender to the fact that you can't control it all. Surrender to the possibility that you might do everything right and still not get what you want. Surrender to the terrifying, liberating truth that all you really have is your action, your choice, your integrity in this moment. And when you surrender to that, when you truly let go of needing the outcome to validate the effort, you become unstoppable. Not because you'll never fail. You'll fail constantly. But because failure won't mean what it used to mean. It won't be the end. It won't be evidence of your inadequacy. It'll just be data. Feedback. Part of the process. You'll try again. You'll adjust. You'll keep moving. Because you're not doing this for the applause or the achievement or the external validation. You're doing this because it's who you are. Because the action itself is the reward. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating with the universe. Stop holding back until you're certain it'll pay off. Do the work. Make the call. Send the message. Start the project. Have the conversation. Take the leap. Not because you know it'll work, but because you're no longer willing to be the person who doesn't try. You are not entitled to the fruit of your actions. But the action, that's yours. That's always been yours. And it's enough.